Hey Esther, how are you this morning?
Great.
Um,
How's Vox?
he's good. He's a little rambunctious right now, but he's good. So I wanted to do this right here, Esther. Kind of a rebuttal, just really for my sake. We talked about doing a video the other day about there's a member that you said lying about you, or a poster, comment, or whatever, and we didn't get through that because there was a couple things. One thing is that it was trying to prove a negative, like did Patsy Ramsey go to sleep that night? Well, we can't prove if she did or she didn't. Yeah, you can make the case that her clothes and makeup, whatever, but none of us knows because we wasn't in there with her. So it's kind of like, see my horse here? You see him? Oh, it's because you can't see him. He's been visible. Reach out and touch him. Oh, that's because you can't feel him. But he's here. See, I can't prove you horse is here. And you can't prove he's not. Um, and then there was some things I want to go over with you, Esther. Because you say you know the case. And so my question is, if you know the case, why do you only pick and choose a few things? Um, you talked about your go-to was the fibers from Patsy Ramsey's shirt. What did the detective say about this?
We only know what the statement from the prosecutor, Bruce Levin, is, which is that Patsy's fibers were found, according to him, inside the knot that
Okay,
was tied around the ligature that was tied around John Benet's neck. And
okay, I'm not disputing that. I don't
the
think anybody is.
prosecutor is not permitted to lie to the suspect, unlike the police.
Hmm.
And this was
Okay,
his statement, and this was a hair from a pea coat that Patsy would not have been just sort of lounging around the house, and it was an expensive garment.
all right.
It
I think I'm
was a
sorry. Go ahead.
rare brand.
All right, Pete Ming, who works the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, he said there were fibers from rope or clothing in the bed. That's excuse me. That's I wanted to point that out. What he said was, we cannot say that this fiber came from this garment to the exclusion of every other. But the more types of fibers collected from the body, home, or car of a suspect that match those at a crime scene of a crime, the stronger the evidence that the suspect was there. But some experts have said the evidence does not necessarily link Patsy Ramsey to the crime because the fibers from her clothes could have at some time before the killing rubbed off on a blanket found with a slain girl. Tape used could have come rubbed against the blanket, picking up fibers. That goes about unidentified dark fibers. So if the experts, so this is coming from the Denver Post is reporting on this daily. If the experts are testifying that this is not a smoking gun, why do you hang your hat on that?
Okay, you're talking about the blanket.
No, I'm
Fibers
talking about
belonging to Patsy
no,
Ramsey were
no,
found
no, no,
inside
no,
the
no,
knot
no, no,
that
no,
was
no,
tied
no. That
around
did
the
you not listen?
ligature that
Did
was
you not
wrapped around
listen?
her
Did
daughter's
you not
neck.
listen to anything that I said? Experts have said the evidence does not link Patsy Ramsey to the crime because the fibers from her clothes could have at some time before the killing rubbed off on a blanket found with the slain girl. The tape used by the killer could have then rubbed against the blanket, picking up fibers from the clothes.
Okay, these are what the facts are. Patsy Ramsey's fibers from an expensive,
Okay,
rare
okay. What I'm
designer
asking
pea
you is,
coat.
Esther, what I'm asking you is, if the experts say this is not a smoking gun, why do you hang your hat on?
You're referring to experts. Which experts? Can you name them?
These are from the. I just read you, Detective Maine from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation.
Did Detective Meng say that it's irrelevant that Patsy's fibers are
Here's
inside the knot that is wrapped around the ligature, the knot that knots the
you
ligature that
cannot
is
say
tied
this
around her
fiber.
daughter's
You
neck?
cannot say that this fiber came from this garment to the exclusion of every other garment.
I can say that we know that Patsy was wearing a
So even
peacoat
though
that
the
night,
expert,
that she would not have been lounging around the house in,
expert,
and that fibers
stop,
from it were
stop,
found
stop,
in the
stop.
knot that was wrapped around the ligature that was wrapped around her daughter's neck. Okay, I'm telling you what the fact.
Okay, so you're obviously going to answer that question. That you're going to just ignore what these people have said. All right, so I'm going to go to the next point. I'll give you a chance to answer that. All right. Esther, you said that starting off this video, you said John Ramsey made a beeline to the basement to search, and got John Benet and took her upstairs. Esther, they had already searched the house twice, as had the police department, and that's the only room they hadn't went in. And the search began in the basement. Now, hold on, I'll give you a chance to respond to that.
Chris, you had me on mute.
I know you were. I told you we were not going through. You repeating the same thing over and over and over.
Okay, I want to let my listeners know that Chris muted me to
I did.
shut me up.
Well, because you're repeating the same thing over and over and over, Esther, that you did never one. So go ahead and respond to the next thing that I brought up.
Okay, can you repeat the question? It's somewhat
Okay.
disconcerting to be put on mute.
Well, if you keep repeating the same thing over and over, it's going to happen. You said that John Ramsey made a beeline to the basement. No, Esther, that's where the search began, was in the basement. And the house had already been searched twice by him and Fleet White and once by the Boulder Police Department. They just hadn't went in there yet.
Okay, irregardless of how many times the house had been searched, John Ramsey brought his daughter's body up from the basement. The only member of law enforcement who was there at the time was freaked out by the way he was carrying her like a mannequin. And then he leaned over the body and pretended to cry, but didn't have any tears.
So
and he asked the detective whether or not his daughter was dead, even though the smell of decomp was in, people could smell it.
Are they supposed to immediately be crying or what when something like that happens?
Well, again, back to making crying noises, as in pretending to cry.
Okay.
This is the same guy whose fibers were found linking him to the sexual assault on his daughter.
That's completely false.
And the maid was freaked out by that. He had pictures of his deceased 22-year-old in his shower.
The next thing you said, which you said, I can't believe you watched this, but you said that the sheet was still in a baggie at the Boulder Police Department. No, Esther, it was thrown away. That was one of the biggest criticisms of the case, was they threw the sheet away.
Look, according to a well-respected journalist named Carol McKinley, according to Pete Mang, the Ziploc baggie still exists with the sheet in it, soaked with urine.
Well, it doesn't. I'm glad you brought him up again, because you kept telling me the other day that that high-tech boot prints could not be sourced. And this is from Mang. Science researchers examine shoe prints, footprints for a number of characteristics. There's tread design, width, and length, and then there's wear pattern. There may be a stone in the thread or cut on the design. If these characteristics are imprinted, we can make a positive identification. Like DNA evidence and fingerprints, shoe prints can be unique and can possibly place a suspect, or at least their shoes, at the scene of the crime.
Okay, Chris, there are two journalists, both Charlie Brennan and Carol McKinley, who say that inside sources told them those boot prints have been sourced to Burke Ramsey, and that law enforcement doesn't believe that they in any way at all are connected with the crime. So Burke played in the basement.
We're going with the journalist over the Colorado Bureau of Investigation.
Okay. Well, Burke owned high-tech boot prints. The boot print was a high-tech boot print.
Well, they weren't his.
Burke lived in the house. Burke would be in the basement.
They weren't his. I mean, I don't know. You don't believe it, or you just ignore it. I don't know what it is, but they were not his. All right. Now let's go into the sexual abuse thing. You said that he's been sexually assaulting her, right?
That would be not what I said. It would be what a panel of experts said.
Well, did one of those experts not dissent?
One expert said that he
2 out
couldn't
of 3.
say for sure that the injuries were sexual in nature. He believed the guy was an expert in studying cases where children had been abused, where the abuse was related to toileting accidents,
What did the
and that he
autopsy
thought it
say?
was corporal punishment
What did
as
the
opposed
autopsy
to
say?
done for gratification.
What did the autopsy say?
According to the autopsy, the little girl, I mean, I can be graphic. I mean, if you,
Did he say there was prior sexual abuse?
yeah, I'm not gonna like, I don't know what I can say
He
here.
didn't. He didn't say there was prior sexual abuse. Now
It is in the
you
autopsy. Do you know what chronic
you
prior erosion means?
just mentioned something. What did you say about gratification?
That one of the experts said that he believed the injuries were done for corporal punishment as opposed to that it was anything.
Corporal punishment. And then Dr. Cyril Wecht, who you famously quote, he says this was a game where he's putting the rope around her neck, and this was actually an accident.
Cyril Wecht thought John was a pedophile who murdered John Benet.
Oh, he said this was an accident. Did it happen as a result of a game where he had a
He's
rope
no,
around her?
he said sex game gone wrong.
Okay, that's well. What am I supposed to draw from that?
That Cyril Wecht, who is a well-known criminal pathologist, thought the
I'm very aware of
child
Dr. Wecht.
was killed by a sexual abuser who lived in her house. Cyril Wecht also interviewed a former Miss America who was an incest expert whose name was Marilyn Vanderburg, who said that the Ramsey family was very similar to her own, and that her mother would have absolutely written a ransom note for her father, and that her father would have killed her if he thought she'd kill
That's
anybody.
another thing too. A federal court ruled that Patsy was not the author of the ransom note. You don't talk
Okay,
about
well,
that.
somebody who cared enough to advise the Ramseys to be well rested and who decided they thought it would be a cool idea to write a ransom note on the Ramseys pad with their own
Why
pen.
do you find that? Why do you find that evidence that they would say get well rested? Why is that a piece of evidence to you?
Well, I just think it's an interesting detail that the kidnapper would, in addition to caring enough about whether or not they got rest, would put the French accent mark above John Benet's
Fair enough, but
and then the E in attaché, just like John Benet's name.
but it's not evidence. So let's go back to the two other things. I want to go through here with you. Talk about the sexual abuse. They investigated this. They found nothing. They even looked on John Ramsey's computer.
Wait, who's they? Who are you referring to? Who are the they you're referring to?
The Boulder Police Department.
No, Chris, the lead child abuse investigator's name was Holly Smith, and she was yanked off of the case.
I'll get to her in just a second. But this is what I mean. This is what it says, Esther.
Okay, they looked on his computer.
And they found not only did they not find any child porn, he didn't have any porn searches.
Why would he have child porn on his computer? I mean, come on.
He didn't even have Esther.
Do you think the guy wants to get caught? Do you think he hasn't figured it out that his computer can be searched?
After these people who molest kids, they usually have child porn. Not only did he not have that, he didn't have any porn at all on his computer.
Well, okay, well then, case solved. A 6-year-old was found dead in his basement.
Let's go to Holly Smith then. I can't even find anything on her book that she wrote. Can you tell me about it?
Google Holly Smith, Denver Post. John Benet.
Holly Smith book, and I can't find anything. I mean, I went on Amazon. I can't even find her book.
Well, Chris, it's not complicated. This is not that hard. I'm saying to my listeners, anybody who wants to type Holly Smith, John Benet, Denver Post.
Okay, well, if they can do it, then hopefully that we do it. Now, you talk about the garret or the garrote, how it was, hair fibers. What else was said about the garrote?
That it was tied around Jean Benet's neck. What else is there to say about it? There are a lot of people who are going around, most of them women, who are screeching. Chris, could you ever even just let me talk?
Okay, go ahead, Esther.
Okay, there are a lot of women who are going around screeching hysterically that Burke Ramsey tied that rope around John Benet's neck and that he accidentally strangled her, pulling her because he wanted to hide her body and conceal that he had just whacked her over the head and caused the 8.5-inch skull fracture from his parents. And that in the process of him doing this, accidentally, she was strangled.
Okay.
And then they
I don't
claim
care about her.
Patsy untied the knot and then retied it, and that's how her fibers got in there.
So fibers to Patsy Ramsey wearing on the night of the killing were found tied in the literature found on John Benet's neck. Here's what you leave out, though. Blood was detected on the cord of the garrote. The DNA from the cord of the garrote was mixed a sample with a major component from John Benet Ramsey and an unidentified minor component. The minor component was not consistent with any member of the Ramsey family, nor the unidentified male one profile derived from the underwear. Why are we not looking at all the
you're just reading stuff off of pro Ramsey websites.
Okay. I don't even know what a pro Ramsey website is. This is straight, this is, DNA analysis by Esther. I'm sorry if you've never looked this up before, because anybody who's seen that, when I brought that up, you tell you had a stroke that night, but you had never heard this before. But, so that's not, why do you ignore the DNA evidence?
Chris, there was a DNA sample that was found in the underpants that could have come from various sources. Somebody has to touch it to package it.
Esther,
buy new clothes and test them for foreign DNA. You'll find it.
Esther, it was found in a blood stain. There was male urine.
You're making this up.
No, I'm not.
You found this on pro Ramsey websites. It's not true.
Do you want me to go pull it up and read it to you?
No, Chris.
Okay, but you just said I'm making it up. So which one is it? You want me to read this to you?
You can go ahead and read what Jameson from the pro Ramsey camp wrote, made up her fictional accounts.
This is from this is Boulder. This is from the Denver Post. DNA samples from under the fingernails and underpants have not been matched to anyone. Where do I have? Sorry, it takes me a while to read this.
Okay, I'm sure viewers are absolutely transfixed by.
Well, I'm sorry, you're the one who called me a liar and said I was making this up. So I just want to make sure that we get this out here. These DNA tests. Here it is sourced. Here I can prove it, and I'll throw it up here, which you're not. And while we're talking about this, you talked about she talked about Lou Smith being the only person who believed the intruder. Well, there was an FBI profiler, a former district attorney, and a sheriff.
Can you name them?
The FBI profiler. I mean, yeah, I can. I can go pull it up. If you want me to, I'll be glad to. But just bear with me while I get it. Root. I've got all this saved on.
Okay, while you're absolutely riveting our viewers with your search for stuff on your phone, I'll just remind them of the Vox is absolutely on my side. Chris's dog thinks Chris is an ASS.
There's not match anybody in the house. Did not match any friends. Ramsey's housekeeper, her husband, reported by Fox News. DNA test results from January 1997 indicate that the evidence gathered from her fingernails did not match her underwear, did not match other family members.
Okay, this isn't really answering my question of who all these experts are who say
This
that.
is from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, lead detective Thomas Trujillo.
I have never heard that name before.
Um, yeah, he was. I mean, there's probably some that I've never heard of too. Esther. All right, so you want the names of the people who were the sheriff? Okay, that's fine. Let me get him for you. And Vox is not on your side. How's the weather up there, Esther?
The weather?
Is it hot, cold? Okay.
This is how Chris changes the subject when he can't think
I'm
of
going.
anything to
I'm
say.
no.
Ask
You
about the
wanted me to
weather.
get you the names of these people, Esther, so I'm getting you the names. I mean,
Okay.
so it's going to take me just a second to pull them up. I'm sorry, but you know,
Yes, Chris is always very prepared.
I am very prepared. I mean, I wish you would try to do it. Okay.
Meanwhile, I'd like to say to all the people who bashed me for that they claimed that my turtle wasn't really intelligent. Because I said that my turtle was really smart and they thought that was like me exaggerating. The turtle is actually brilliant. And I really don't appreciate slams at the reptile community.
I'll back you on that. All right, former sheriff. Um, where's his name at? Former sheriff. A former. Okay, a former. What Boulder's a city, right? What county is Boulder in? Do you know?
Boulder is a part of
Paso?
Colorado.
What? Yeah, what county? Okay, I don't know. This guy, he's sheriff. Former Paso, Orion, FBI reports. Where's this? John Anderson.
Okay, I've never heard of this person.
I'm like, okay, you told me to get the name. Do you want me to go get the FBI profiler for you?
Yes.
How is your turtle, Esther?
Well, I mean, he would be happier if you would kind of be more reasonable.
Well, I've not been aggressive with you. I've given you every opportunity to address these points. All right. Sorry, Esther. It's about, it's nice down here. Okay, I'm getting this. How's your mother doing?
My mom always sides with you. She just thinks that I abuse you and that it's me who's toxic,
She thinks what now?
that I am not being polite enough to
Tommy
you.
Douglas, the former FBI profiler.
Okay, Chris, we've just lost all of our viewers.
Well, you told me to go find the names, Esther.
Okay.
So now I'm going to get the prosecutor for you. Um, make sure this is the right name. Craig Silverman.
He's a talking head for the TV networks. He
Wait a second.
didn't work on the case.
Okay. I may not have the right name. No, I don't. But I'm going to get this name for you, Esther.
Okay.
Now, um, okay. I guess Mary Lacey would be one, but this guy's name starts with an R and goes UURI or something like that. Are you familiar with a name like that?
No.
Okay. I'm going to keep looking at it. Now, back to Holly Smith. Do you know that she was taking kids and removing them out of their homes?
Now, where are you hearing this?
Well, I mean, there's stuff I'm reading here that she was taking kids out of their homes, and that just because she thought they'd been sexually assaulted. I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't um, do that. That's why I
Well,
was asking
she
you.
worked
Did you
for
ever?
Boulder Social Services.
This happened in 2011.
Okay,
Or,
well, I don't know anything about it.
I mean, it may not be true. Um, I'll find it. Okay. I'll just come back from that right now. That's true. I'm going to go on with something else because it's not. Yeah, it's just. Yeah, it's just okay. One last thing for you here, and I will let you go about your day. What plans do you have, Esther?
For today,
Yeah.
I'm going to feed my turtle.
Oh, that's brilliant. I mean, that's not great. What am I looking for? Eventful.
Well, I mean, I'm turtle inclusive here, and I think you should be also. I mean, reptiles
I
have feelings. Reptile lives matter.
Um. Okay. So here's all right. So here's just the question that I have. So, why do you not bring in and look at this other evidence?
What other evidence?
The stuff that I just named out repeatedly.
The non-existent members of law enforcement, other than Lou Smith, who think the Ramseys are
Well,
innocent?
I just named you. I just named you the sheriff. I just named you the FBI profiler.
What
I
sheriff?
just named you. I just called his name out. A second ago. Esther. I'm not going to pull that back up. Um, the DNA evidence. You ignore that. You ignore the other fiber evidence. You ignore the high tech blueprint. You mean why do you not look at all the evidence?
Chris, the high-tech boot print was sourced
No,
as belonging to Burke.
no, it wasn't. That is absolutely false. You're lying about that.
Okay, so anytime I point out that you're wrong and can't source your facts, I'm lying. At least you've
No,
taken me off mute.
every time I source something, you either dismiss it as a pro Ramsey website or say I didn't source it.
Look, I mean,
Well,
for
you on
our
the other hand, you never
listeners,
sourced.
for
For you on the
anybody
other hand,
who's still
you've
torturing
never sourced,
themselves by being here.
you've never sourced anything. And
Okay,
obviously, again, you're not going to answer the questions because you can't.
okay. Anybody who
So
happens to still be sitting through this hell, you can find information about the case online, the
that's
autopsy report, the autopsy summary. You can find
not. So
police
offer
transcripts.
support.
I'm not making anything up. The information is out there. It's
You're
been
flat
concealed by
out
people who
lying.
don't want it to be
Either,
brought to light.
one of two things: either you don't know the case as well as you claim to know it, or you're flat out lying.
Okay, Chris, if you want to believe that I walk around making stuff up, okay, but the information is out there.
All right. Thank you, Esther.
Thank you, Chris.